Charge, direct hit, applies burn.
Where did this fucker hit me?
No! It crashed!
Get used to this. Out of all the game genres in this godforsaken world, the one that spoke to me the most after I got through my Pokemon and Skylanders phases was the hero and class shooter. Having tons of characters with unique kits and abilities to play with just tickles the right neurons in my ape brain, and when you slap a stylized or cartoony art style on that fucker, and oh, now we're really getting somewhere. For you see, I'm a man of culture. Now around 2016, this little indie game released that you might have heard of called Overwatch. I don't think I need to explain it. You've probably played Overwatch, your friends have played Overwatch, your bedridden grandmother has played Overwatch. Having polish, a great looking art style, hot characters, and most importantly Blizzard money, it established itself as a titan and really set in stone what a hero shooter feels and looks like, with it still being pretty big years later. And that DNA could be seen in the other games which came around the same time and after its release. One of the biggest initial problems I had with Overwatch before it eventually fell off harder than an unattended paraplegic was how stale the character personalities and abilities were. Each character played one way with no options to alter their kits to your liking, and it doesn't matter how attractive they are, it's not gonna fix basically all of them being one note, and it didn't help that they just basically gave up on developing their story. Gearbox's Battleborn, which launched around the same time as Overwatch, seemed to be more appealing in the character front, while also being a partial MOBA, having a campaign mode, hot characters, and upgradable skill trees to change your character's abilities. Each hero also had very explosive personalities without getting to the incredible cringe levels that Borderlands 3 would eventually get to.
We got the Spy Master, sir, and her Eldritch companion. Shall we bring him to the cathedral?
What? No! Kill them, you idiot!
My mistake, sir. Please don't kill me, sir. I'll see it done. Please don't kill me.
I'm not going to. Look, just do it already!
But launching around Overwatch basically sealed its death, and the game became unplayable before I ever really got around to playing it. Bleeding Edge was another MOBA shooter with a lot going for it in the gameplay department, like different selectable ultimates, hot characters, and a cool art direction, but I doubt most of you watching this are even gonna know what this game was. Ninja Theory, you know Hellblade's Senua's Sacrifice, yeah, they made this one, and as fun as it was with my limited time playing it on Xbox Game Pass, it died a pretty quick and unceremonious death. Smite, while yes, it is just a MOBA, was really fun, and in comparison to most other MOBAs being top-down clickers, the third-person camera makes things so much more engaging for me, and no matter how much 3D animated cinema they create, League is still League. Starting that game as a new player, though, is so incredibly overwhelming to the point that you might get a heart attack from all the stuff you get bombarded with on the menu, and them seemingly making the same mistakes as Overwatch. Speaking of high-res games, what really drew me in from them was Paladins. Paladins was a hero shooter that from its very beginning and throughout its whole lifespan got labeled an Overwatch clone. And while fair in some aspects, people like to falsely compare other games to Overwatch a lot, even though it's anything but original. Characters had upgradable cards to change their playstyle, a cool fantasy aesthetic, actual world building, eventually, hot characters. There were plenty of times where I heavily preferred this game to Overwatch. But unfortunately, it's a high-res game, and the amount of damaging and ludicrous changes made to it throughout its life is just insane, and now it just kind of exists. Like, what I wouldn't have given for a Paladins that wasn't built on spaghetti code and had the technical stability of Overwatch. But what if I told you that there was a game that contains all of the aspects that I liked from all the previous titles I just talked about, and one that had a bigger impact on me than I would have ever expected? Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare. No, I'm just kidding. That game is amazing though, and it will get a video at some point, but I'm actually talking about Gigantic. Gigantic is a hero shooter MOBA developed by Motiga Studios, where 2 teams of 5 battle to gain control over power spots spread throughout the map. Over time, specific spots start to generate power that you can then slowly claim, or you can summon a creature on top of it so they can just do it for you. Creatures work kind of like defensive towers, but are alive, and each of them have their own type of attacks and support that they can give. Bloomers heal, Cerberus is best boy and will reveal enemies for you, Cyclops will keep people out of your personal space, Drake will perform inappropriate behavior and get into a feud with Kendrick Lamar, Obelisk will go wherever it damn well pleases, and Infernos will war people all the way to hell.
Take him to Detroit.
By performing game objectives, you gain focus. Focus is basically your ultimate bar, but it works slightly different than in other games. Your focus bar can actually be leveled up all the way to level 3, so in the middle of a match you have to do this very difficult thing, use your brain, and choose if you want to use your focus early on or save it up for a much stronger attack later in the game, where you will most likely fuck it up and waste it, let's be honest here. You can also use your focus to gigantivolve your creatures into their adult forms to make them more powerful. Then by claiming power and killing enemies, you fill up your Guardian meter, and when it's full, your big chicken or snake will start to rampage and temporarily make the enemy guardian vulnerable so you can try to inflict a wound. First team to 3 wounds wins. Once the guardian only needs 1 more wound to finish off, or the game is starting to take too long, the battlefield will shift to a smaller version to force everyone to play more constricted and hopefully speed up the end of the game. This gameplay loop, in combination with being able to customize every single ability of your character and their attributes, creates a really engaging and fun experience that just triggers all the good parts in my monkey brain. This game was it. Every little thing I liked that was spread out among all those previous titles were present in this one game, and it just scratched that itch. It was such a great balance between hero shooter and MOBA with just a great cast of characters. Taito the Swift is a stabby version of Houdini who can harass and bleed you in 12 different ways. Fun character design detail is that they don't have a left arm but compensate for it with their pet mouse cat Fang. When an enemy is out of stabbing range, you can quickly solve this problem by throwing your pet at it. Like this one time a 6-year-old was bothering me at the park, so I unleashed my untrained bulldog at its face like a hungry 50-pound missile. Lord Gnosis is the unofficial king of bullshit, with a kit designed for speed, endurance, and interrupting every single thing you might possibly be thinking of. Your Xbox Elite wireless controller will turn into a projectile, and your Samsung 32-inch QLED Smart TV becomes a bullseye. The Margrave is a hulking juggernaut who uses his unholy demon fist to channel the power of No Nut November to punch every single man, woman, child, and zygote into a Jackson Pollock painting. If you love playing Spy, then you'll love Trip. With this little hooded hoodlum, you can cloak and sneak to your heart's content while sneaking up on your foes and shoving a 10,000-volt dagger straight up their unprotected asshole. If you prefer a more distance-based gameplay style, you can pick Imani. You can shoot normally, shoot elementally, or activate your focus to use Big Shoot, and when they eventually take your shooting very personally, like they would, you can use secondhand smoke to escape and make them more likely to die of cancer in 20 years. If you want to play a sniper but more interesting, you can just pick Voden, and where instead of having to properly position yourself, you can just use a decoy to hide and then spam poison like the goat you are. Gigantic has multiple status effects and mechanics to weaken and confuse your opponents, from stun to knock up to armor break, and Zenobia is every single one of them rolled into one horrible tentacly package. HK206 is the answer to the question, what if the engineer's sentry had legs? And to the untrained eye, one might think that, oh, this is just Bastion, but HK206 was Bastion before Bastion was even a thing. Charnock is a sorcerer who doesn't specialize in healing or shielding, but instead on how many layers of skin he can burn off of your body as efficiently as possible. The closest thing to a straightforward healer in the game is Vadasi, and you don't just heal as your gameplay focus to the point that your primary weapon is the heal beam and not the damage beam, but you also get the privilege of sacrificing your own health in order to make your other abilities stronger, so your selfish teammates can expect you to sacrifice even more than you already do. If you don't have any friends, Griselma is the perfect character for you, since you can simply place a hand friend on any surface you desire, making you reminisce about many a night spent alone browsing the internet. Not everyone has a good father. Some left to get milk and never came back. Others tell you to kill yourself, but in Ashling's case, her father did love her actually. He loves her so much that even after his death, his spirit is still around to protect her, but she can also scare them with her most horrifying ability, being Irish. Wu is a sexual harasser in gameplay form, getting up close and personal and refusing to leave you alone, and just when you think you've escaped, he pulls you in with his disgusting tendril, commonly referred to in anatomy as a tongue. Zandora solves the very common problem where all of your team goes damage and expects you to somehow play both tank and support. Guess what? She can. Ladies and gentlemen, get you a girl that can do both. Have the endurance to tank a fully loaded backhand like a unit, and also have the aura enhancing abilities of your average Brazilian man. Paco is the cutest thing in existence, while both possessing extreme marketability and the option to dish out these hands, all while being the baby version of a frost giant. The children don't yearn for the mines, they yearn for the battlefield. Rutger has the mechanic of having a large amount of shield health and replenishing it by attacking while summoning spikes to penetrate your enemy's armor. Ramsey is much like Wu, in that he's a fuckboy, but more in the poisonous fruit using shanking you in your asshole variety. Oru is a master of the cards, launching or spreading them out to attack and then revealing if you either take additional damage or get stunned. Either way, the game was rigged from the start. He can also launch a massive volley of cards at you, but plot twist, it's Exodia every single time. You're fucked. Life and work can be demotivating, and you wonder if this feeling comes from a lack of motivation or emotional exhaustion, but no, it's actually because of Ezrin Gall. This tall, dark, and anorexic Charon cosplayer is the master of the suck and blast technique. First, you attack an enemy with your suck attack, each hit giving you a soul charge you can then blast at them to deal big damage, creating a self-supporting suck and blast loop, thus increasing the overall amount of sucking and or blasting, where you can suck and blast as much as you desire. Do you desire a character that gives you the option to shoot, homing shoot, electric shoot, and shoot through the sky? Well, you're in luck, cause T-Mad is there to fulfill that desire with a sleek Robo-Ronin design on top of it, even sweetening the deal with her focus attack that asks, what if you just did all of your shooting, but more? You have my main Beckett, who can run, gun, fly, bomb, and annoy people like an American mosquito. My other main, Uncle Sven, who has the primary weapon and physique of your average occupant of Bristol. He can heal people with his potions and also turn them into slugs. And lastly, there's Mozu, who's the fucking worst. Now you might be saying, this sounds like the greatest game to ever exist. And calm down, this isn't my friend Peppa Pig, but it's pretty dang close. With all these great things, why did I title the video in such a dramatic and clickbaity way? Well, for one, I'm a slave to the unknowing requirements of the algorithm, and it's either titles like this or having to create daily slop videos.
Oh, fuck.
And because of the unfortunate fate of Gigantic. As fun as the game was, it had an incredibly rough development history with tons of funding, platform exclusivity, and publisher issues, which led to at one point a ton of employees being laid off. But then the next day, most of them came back to work without any promise of guaranteed pay or a job. But they came back anyway because they believed in Gigantic so much and wanted to see the project finished. This was honestly one of the stories that not only made me want to strongly support the game, but also inspired me to want to go into game development. And fortunately, they were able to strike a deal with a new publisher, Arc, and in July of 2017, Gigantic officially launched as a free-to-play game. Things seemed to be on the up and up. I played the game anytime I could. I forced my friends to play the game with me because fuck their individual choices. They signed the pact of friendship and they will abide by it. And I remember that time as just a lot of fun. I purchased every bundle I could to support them with my very limited teenager funds, but unfortunately, on July 31st of 2018, just a year later, Motiga announced that the servers would be shut down. So you have that part when watching a movie or TV show, where after the second act low point, the protagonist gets back up, overcomes adversity, and accomplishes their goal in the end. That's what it felt like was happening when the news broke that the Motiga employees came back to the office without having a guaranteed job, just because they believed in Gigantic so much and wanted to see the project finished and then getting the game to actually release. And then you get a really harsh reminder that life is not a movie. At least not a very good one. 6.6, you seeing this shit? Years of following, playing, and supporting this game, gone. Just like that. And I'm gonna cut the catchy background music right now. Hi, yeah, I'm being a bit more direct here. Fucking quirky, I know, because seriously, reading that news was pretty depressing. Not in a I'm gonna kill myself kind of way, but more in a there's no good or light in the world kind of way. And I wasn't the only one who felt like this. Despite not having a particularly large player base throughout its lifespan, mostly due to server issues, only having a single flawed designed game mode and a big amount of competition, including relatively newly launched Overwatch, there was still a very loyal, passionate, and dedicated fan base. So strong that even though there were no official servers left to play the game, fans found a way to be able to play and keep the community alive through private servers. And that's what it was like for years. In late 2023, out of nowhere, emails were sent out informing about a private playtest for Gigantic, advertising it as a touched-up definitive version of the game. Since its death in 2017, Arc Games had become part of Gearbox, the aforementioned Battleborn studio, and they seemingly decided, sitting on a bunch of usable assets and a passionate community hungry for more, that fuck it, let's give it a go, and enlisted Abstraction Games to take the 2017 build, address the issues, and turn it into a complete package to sell. This private playtest, which was only playable to the select people the message was sent to, and was in no way accessible to other people who found out about its existence, was then followed by a private beta in December before finally launching in April of 2024 as Gigantic Rampage Edition. So you might be wondering, Pyro, you child support dodging bitch, what's different about Rampage Edition? Good question, specific and topical question asking viewer. First off, the original Gigantic was a free-to-play game with microtransactions like most live service games. They approached monetization in probably my favorite way, not with a battle pass, but by selling the new content in a single fair-priced bundle so you could get it all at once, while also being able to get everything separately and just grind for it if you wanted to. Rampage Edition has no microtransactions, but instead is a pay title with promise of free events and updates, which sounds too good to be true. And it is. As nice as it sounds, it boggled my noggin how the game was expected to be supported for hopefully the foreseeable future, where in the modern gaming landscape you'd expect some sort of battle pass or microtransaction system to be in place. The game added several new skins, maps, brought back Roland from the early stages of the game, now completely reworked, and added the pirate cat assassin Kajir, who is always looking to steal your doubloons. Quality of life wise, you now have the option to create and save loadouts for your character to follow while leveling throughout the match, which is a very nice addition, so I can put all my points into healing and then not heal any of these assholes. For modes, we got a ranked mode with planned seasons, but to be honest, like most games I play, I didn't touch this stuff. especially knowing that what I saw and heard from the people I know that played it, it was mostly just encountering 5 stacks who would completely dominate you, and that's not my cup of tea. Thank you very much. The other mode they added, which did pique my interest, was Rush, basically solving the issue that Clash is the only game mode and that games usually last for about 20 to 40 minutes. Rush puts you in the end stage of a Clash match with a smaller version of the map and both Guardians only needing 1 wound to kill. These games usually last for about 10 to 15 minutes, which finally gives people who unsuspectedly were called for dinner a reasonable option to finish in time. Now with good also comes the bad. You'd expect that the game would be in a stable state, seeing as it was basically finished and they just added a simplified version of the main game mode and re-added several unfinished assets, but no. Plagued with server and queue issues, disconnects, crashes, more bugs than the movie Ants starring Sylvester Stallone, and did I mention the disconnecting? So much disconnecting. All this led to a troublesome launch, to put it lightly, which left the hardcore fans frustrated and disappointed with the game that they were stuck with, and made the new people interested to check it out drop it almost immediately. Problems where some wouldn't even be properly addressed and fixed until weeks after its launch, and others that are still in the game to this day. Post-launch, they did a couple of small weekend events where you could earn some skins, and apart from that, the game was abandoned by both the developers and the studio. So now fans were left with $20 shorter, and with a game that is practically unplayable due to its low player count and connection issues. So it's right back to the private servers if you want to actually be able to properly play a game. You can't even get any progression out of it since Rampage Edition changed that you can't earn any progression from bot matches. So fuck you, you don't get shit in this game. I'm not selling this. I'm not selling this at all. I know, I'm aware. For fuck's sake. Looking back, seeing a game with such a cool and unique take on the hero shooter and MOBA genre that basically took all of the specific elements that I like about both of them and blend them into the perfect game that both produces neurons in my brain and tickles my balls it just sucks. I know I can tell a sob story here and make it seem like a national tragedy, even though that's how the industry cookie crumbles. Movies, TV shows, games get scrapped or cancelled all the time, but it just sucks. It just does. And it's not like Motiga didn't make big mistakes during its development or its choice in production partners, but I have a lot of trouble explaining how heartbreaking it feels to watch a game I love die not just once, but twice, and have the second time be arguably worse than the first. Not as a game that came out in a competitive market in time that simply couldn't compete and unfortunately had to close down no matter how hard the developers tried to make it work, pushing through layoffs and no pay promises because of passion, but as a low-effort revival that got crapped out with minimal support or fanfare and left to die almost instantly, even though they barely even tried to make it a fully functioning game to begin with. I know my channel's small, I know this topic isn't that big or topical, and I'm not even gonna pretend like I understand how the YouTube algorithm works, and my upload schedule definitely doesn't help with that. Jesus Christ. But I just felt like I needed to talk about this game at least. That even if this video gets literally 0 views, that I can at least look at it in my videos tab, and that I talked about it, and I made something about it. Because it's just a game and a topic that I can't ignore. And going back to those games from before and where the genre is in comparison to around 2016, Overwatch made a sequel that was basically just a big patch to revamp the game and add single player and story mode content, and then decided to do none of that. Shout out to the real twos, by the way, you're the reason I haven't pulled the trigger yet. Hi-Rez continues to fuck up, big surprise, you know, it's Hi-Rez. Smite is following in Overwatch's footsteps, which is just... why? And Paladins is basically dead. But at least Valve's Deadlock seems to be pretty good, even though I had to take a break from it. I can only handle so many Eastern Europeans screaming at me through a microphone. And an honorable mention goes to Marvel Overwatch, which has already stolen quite a few hours of my life and money from my wallet. Thank you, Xi Jinping. Glory to Emma Frost's thighs. Sorry if this video was a bit more dramatic than usual. I stubbed my toe this morning. See you in like a year or something when my mental block lifts again, and hopefully it was entertaining enough for you. Eat your veggies, play Garden Warfare, and I'll see you guys another time. Take care.